Hello, everybody. I feel like I have to compete with the wind or something. There's something howling through this room, and I think it's the wind. I'm not sure. All right, here we go. So I would like to start you off with a motivational quote. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong quote. There we go. Hang on, I've not even got myself prepared here. Not at all. Okay, so communication is to relationships what breath is to life. This is a quote by Virginia Satir, who is a woman that actually I only heard about on Monday and found this quote Googling her on Monday. So I'm not even actually a motivational quote type of person, but it really spoke to me. So she was a systems therapist specializing in family therapy. And she was a pioneer in the idea of bringing in the entire family to the therapy if you had a problem child, because it's never actually the child that's the problem, right? So this is another quotation by her. I know I just said I'm not into quotes, but obviously this is your third one already. And we're only 50 seconds in. So to understand the world, we can study the family, issues such as power, intimacy, autonomy, trust, and communication skills are vital parts underlying how we live in the world. To change the world is to change the family. Now, a theory which has been driving me forward recently on my quest for a better world of work has now kindly been put into words for me by Satir. I simply take this quote and exchange family for how we work. So to understand the world, we can study how we work. Issues such as power, intimacy, autonomy, trust, and communication skills are vital parts underlying how we live in the world. To change the world is to change how we work. I already see someone nodding. Thank you very much. So welcome, I'm Monica, and today I want to speak to you about the world of work in 2022, how burnout and a lack of engagement affects creativity and productivity, as it said on the flyer, and how I believe communication can help us move into healthier spaces. I'm super motivated by the idea of changing how we work. And I did my master's in occupational psychology because LinkedIn doesn't have a reading list section where I could show off all of the progressive ways of working books that I've already read. So I hope that what I'm about to share with you is like new to you in some way, but if it's not, then I hope that it shines a new light on the habits that you maybe already have. So let's get started. Here's a quick look at the state of work in 2022. You may know Gallup. They are an analytics and advisory company based in the US, and they're known for their public opinion polls that are taken globally. According to Gallup's State of the Global Workplace 2022 report, only 21% of the global workforce is actually engaged. Now, just in case you don't know exactly what engagement is, see, I'm an occupational psychologist, so I'm studying this all the time, and I think that everybody knows these words, but maybe you don't. So engagement, according to Schaufeli and Bakker, who are the creators of the Utrecht Work Engagement Scale, there we go, which is the most used scale to measure engagement. Work engagement is the assumed opposite of burnout, right? So contrary to those who suffer from burnout, engaged employees have a sense of energetic and effective connection with their work activities, and they see themselves as able to deal well with the demands of their job. Yes, I did pick a t-shirt to match some of my slides. So now this doesn't mean that the other 79% of the global workforce is burnt out, but it is the other side of the same coin. You like this, I can tell. So let's agree that we at the very least want to maintain or ideally increase the engagement of our global workforce. Now, does higher engagement also mean that it's a benefit to the companies that we work for? Yes, but that's not what we're here for today. We are concentrating on our well-being, not the companies. But maybe you don't even work for an organization, or maybe you're freelance, or maybe you're even unemployed at the moment. Whatever your situation, increasing your engagement in the task at hand can only benefit you, and anyone else that it benefits is just a happy side effect. So here's another buzzword that you may have heard of, which is psychological safety. And I want to acknowledge that a lack of engagement can have a lot to do with a lack of psychological safety. So a psychologically safe environment allows you to make mistakes and know you won't be penalized or thought less of. It is one in which you won't be humiliated for asking for help or information. And it is one in which you can give feedback and have difficult conversations without tiptoeing around the truth. So if you don't feel psychologically safe in your workplace, of course you won't feel confident communicating and speaking up. One can see how a lack of psychological safety can certainly affect one's mental well-being. And according to the management consultancy McKinsey, and which was also stated earlier by Catherine, I believe, a positive team climate is the most important driver of a team's psychological safety. And this is reached by valuing each other, caring about each other, and having an input into how teams carry out their work. And there are things we can do to encourage and hopefully increase psychological safety in our nearest work relationships without having to have the chat about the lack of psychological safety. So I'm going to provide you now with 5 communication suggestions that I've collected, which I believe will help. Oh yeah, okay, cool. I was so worried I wasn't passing on my slides. That I believe will help create a positive climate, which could almost be described as passive. Sorry, these 5 communication suggestions could almost be described as passive. They're so unintrusive, and therefore you don't need to go out of your way to have a big chat, but you're still communicating. So, number 1. Oh, what? Oh, sorry, you're doing this. Oh, crumbs. Number 1 tip, keep your calendar up to date. This is a super simple one. We're starting off easy, okay? So keep your calendar up to date. I have certainly been on the receiving end of trying to put in a date on someone's calendar, only for them to turn around and tell me, actually, I'm busy right now. So don't be that person, right? It's not just about not being that person. There are also other reasons which will help with your relationships at work. You will model good behavior to your colleagues. You will also provide clarity on your availability. And one of the things that somebody wrote to me on my LinkedIn post when I said I was doing this talk is that it sets boundaries. This person said, how can I set boundaries? And one way to do that is also by letting people know in your calendar when you're not available. At the very least, they'll have to ask you if you can make the meeting. Tip 2. Oh, hang on. I've got it. Check-ins. Make sure to have check-ins. Now, I believe in the Berlin tech scene, it's probably relatively common, but I have actually spoken to people who have never, ever had a check-in or a check-out, and they've literally never just chatted to their remote colleagues. They don't know anything about them. And like with any relationship, communication is essential to teamwork, whether it's your teammates, your business partner, or possibly even your clients. Now, what is a check-in? A check-in is, or a check-in round, is a ritualized moment at the start of a meeting where everyone speaks one at a time, in turn, without interruption, in answer to a given prompt. Now, prompts can be things like, what do you love about your city? Or tell us about the last book that you read. Or which of your talents is being underutilized in this role? And if you're worried about how to come up with these prompts, have no fear. Loads of nerds have created check-in generators for you. So you can just go onto there and you'll find the right kind of questions for every start of a meeting. And why do we want to do this? We want to do this because we practice better listening. This is the other side of communicating, right? It's not just about the talking. It's also about whether somebody has actually received your message. So if you're listening to your teammates, then you will find out more about them, and you will only know that you found out more about them when you can repeat what they said to you, essentially. Also, it allows everyone's voice to be heard. Now, we already had that. The employees want to feel like their input is valued, right? So if they get the chance to talk without being interrupted, they will feel like they've been heard. And lastly, this actually does, scientifically, supposedly, develop psychological safety. You're getting to know each other, you're getting a little bit more intimate, but they're still on like high-level questions. You don't need to worry about getting too close. So, tip number 3, user manuals. So what else can you do to get to know each other better? Well, there are a lot of things that we want to communicate that we might not feel comfortable doing so. They maybe just don't come into conversation very naturally, and nobody necessarily brings them up. So courtesy of my friend Mark, who runs a New Ways of Working workshop, or course even, here is a template for a user manual. these are sheets that you can share within your team so that you can all find out the conditions that you like to work in, the hours you like to work, the best ways to communicate with each other, the ways you like to receive feedback, the things that you need, the things you struggle with, the things you love, and other things that you need to know about them. As Mark puts it, we need these because life at work is a lot easier when our colleagues know how we work best. Also, it's easier when we know how our colleagues work best. And also, we are all better off if we understand each other's needs. Number 4, writing in reverse. So this is one from Justin Bariso. He wrote the book EQ Applied, which is a book on emotional intelligence. It is simple, writing in reverse. All you have to do is reverse the roles of the writer, who is you, with the audience. In an age when written communication, like email, Slack, and text messaging rules, writing in reverse is helpful because it keeps you from writing purely from an emotional perspective, writing too much, or writing what is not helpful to the recipient. When you write in reverse, you put yourself in the other person's shoes, and you give replies that move things forward without causing unnecessary worry and problems. And why would we like that? Well, you get your thoughts and feelings under control, you give your audience what they need, and you get what you need from your audience. All right, here we go. Of course, we've all had the situation where we do end up saying or writing something that we don't want to. We wish there was a way that we could take back what we said and say what we actually wanted to. Can you please raise your hand if you've heard of Brené Brown? Aw, nice. Great job, everyone. So Brené Brown works on vulnerability and the idea that is the other side of the coin of bravery. So we've all said things we've regretted, and that regret can start to bother us. Or, as Brené says, shame can only rise so far in a system before people disengage to protect themselves. When we're disengaged, we don't show up, we don't contribute, and we stop caring. Now, the reason that tip number 4, oh, where are we? Tip number 5, junk, nope. Tip number 5 is a personal challenge, is because this really is a proactive communication one. So this is also very much to do with being vulnerable. Again, from Justin Bariso and his work on emotional intelligence. This is simple, and how you do it is the next time you do or say something that you regret, you think of how you should have handled the situation. And then you go back to the person and you apologize and you ask if you can have a do-over. And this time you do it right. It sounds kind of scary, but the reason why we want to do this is because we do actually gain respect by doing this, and we fix our mistakes so we feel better about that, and we deepen our relationships because people know that we care about them enough to say sorry. So I feel that we have the tools within us to be able to deal with our demons. This includes the tools that for us to say enough is enough, but we might not be ready to say that. And as Catherine just showed us, our organizations try to do their best for us, but there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. That's why, at least when it comes to communication, we can intentionally adopt and work on some good habits that help work towards engagement and psychological safety, and encourage those around us to adopt them too. And maybe then we'll see how our relationships flourish as we breathe life back into them. Thank you.